Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get all the updates. Very excited for today's beer. It's courtesy, if I remember correctly, Mike from Nerdsense gave this to me when I went and hung out with those guys and filmed some stuff last time. I stayed at Mike's house before I left. He gave me a bunch of beer, and I think, if I remember correctly, this is one of them. But it was actually Sean from Nerdsense who was like, hey, you should review that. I want to see your review. So some sort of combination of the Nerdsense guys bring you this review. Make sure you check them out. So it's a Baltic Porter. I'm sorry, it's from Night Shift. It's a Baltic Porter brewed with Dutch cocoa and aged in bourbon barrels. It's from 2016. It's called Krakatoa. It's part of their Barrel Society from 2016. And maybe I'll just read everything. It's 2.6% ABV. It was from March 2016. It is about the middle of January 2020. So not quite 4 years old, but really close. It looks like it was the first release for the Barrel Society. Pours the color of espresso with a thick tan head, earthy aromas of burnt chocolate and tobacco, rich flavors of cocoa, leather, molasses, and cherry. Sips chewy and full, finishing with hints of anise, oak, and cigar. The flavors in this bottle will develop, mature, and evolve over time. Time has passed. Consider selling in a cool, dark place for up to 5 years. Cool, dark place, my beer cellar, almost 5 years. Didn't grab a bottle opener. I have one right here. Not sure why I keep kind of talking like this, or my voice and volume goes up. Let's stop that, and let's get into it. So for people who fast forwarded to me pouring the beer, check out Nerdsense for sure. I will link to them in the description box. If I remember, I'll also do it at the end of this video. All right. Yeah, I was either going to do this beer or the Framing Hammer S'mores variant. So for some reason, I was interested in a bourbon barrel-aged Baltic Porter. Yeah, that is pretty black. I would say, yeah. You know, they said espresso. I can totally see that, especially with the head on top. I could see when you make an espresso, and there's just a little bit of head around the glass there, the cup. I would say a light mocha to a mocha color head. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy dark brown into the black range. Looks like a big Baltic Porter or a stout. And it was, about a finger ahead. Let's get into the aroma. You know, I get a lot of barrel, actually. I didn't say how long it was aged for, did it? I don't think it said how long you had aged in the barrel for. But, I get a lot of bourbon. I get the oak specifically, which is nice. But yeah, definitely a big bourbon. Some of that roast comes through from the base as well. Got a little bit on my nose if you couldn't tell. That roast is approaching a burnt coffee. See, in some ways, maybe you shouldn't read the descriptions, and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's just putting in my head, but I'm getting a lot of burnt coffee. I get that dark chocolate thing. I don't know if I would have said if I was doing this blend, like, I think there's an addition of chocolate or cacao nibs or something in this, but it does have a dark chocolate aroma for sure. Touch of vanilla from the barrel. I actually like this aroma. I think when you say like burnt coffee, it sounds like a turnoff, but like there's enough stuff going on that I really like in this, and I actually do like this aroma quite a bit. See, about in 9.5. So if this is good and whatever, 9.5 big bottle like this, probably have a good evening ahead of me. Cheers. This is good, I tell you. And again, always trying to kind of think, if I didn't know anything about this beer and I was doing it blind, that 9.5, I would have thought a little beefier than that. Not that you get like a big alcohol burn, I just mean like the fullness of the beer. Actually, is this one of the beers we did last time we were up there? We did do I believe it was bourbon barrel aged. We did some sort of barrel aged beer from these guys that was low ABV. Maybe it was this one. Maybe they gave me a bottle of that. Put in the comment section, Sean. Mike might watch this too, but Sean, I'm sure will, since he's the one who requested it. But anyway, I'm not describing the beer much, so I'll get into that. But yeah, it definitely drinks bigger than the 9.5 for sure. And I haven't had this beer fresh. Like, at least to my knowledge, I didn't have anywhere close to 2016. Okay, what's like the aroma? Roast, for sure. Burnt coffee. I shouldn't say burnt coffee, but hot coffee. So it's that. The coffee taste of it does not come like cold brew. It comes from like, yeah, I made a hot cup of coffee. So it's that kind of coffee. Yeah, dark chocolate for sure. It's not overly sweet. So I'm going to say, yeah, definitely more dark chocolate than like a milk chocolate thing or sweet chocolate. The bourbon is there. It's with the aroma. I thought it'd be more, but it's there. There is a little bit of warmth in the chest, which I think is maybe it's tricking my mind into thinking this drinks like a bigger beer. I mean, flavor-wise, it drinks like a bigger beer, but there's this little bit of warmth, almost like a chocolate liqueur thing, still on my tongue. A little bit of powder, perhaps, like chocolate powder, cacao nibs, something like that. In terms of if I was doing this blind and I was like, is this a porter or a stout? There is that, and I keep having to call it an X factor. There is that X factor, but if I'm being, that I think big Baltic porters have. If I was being honest, though, I think if I was doing this blind, I would have thought maybe like a Russian Imperial Stout. Like it has that, the X factor is somewhat earthy. Of course, I'm about to say like woodsy, and it could be the barrel for sure. Let me do more sip and kind of, speaking of the barrel, just specifically look for the barrel and the taste. And again, just because I got it so much, that thing that I think of as either Baltic porters or Russian Imperial Stouts, whatever that woodsy, maybe it's almost like a hoppy thing, is there. But anyway, barrel specifically, you know what's nice about this one is it's so, and maybe it's the aging, interwoven. It's melding so well with the other stuff that's going on. And as I'm drinking a little bit more, again, not that it's overly sweet of a beer, I'm getting a little bit more sweetness. I am going to say there are notes of more of a milk chocolate in there. Still the dark chocolate, still the coffee roast. Excuse me, just the roastiness of the beer. What else did they say they were thinking? Had with earthy aromas, burnt chocolate, and tobacco. I think that roast, I could see that being like, not quite ash tobacco thing, but approaching that, for my palate anyway. Rich flavors of cocoa, I think for sure. Leather, molasses, and cherry. I could see a little cherry. Yeah. The leather thing. And again, it could have tasted a lot different when they bottled it. I see still what they're talking about with the leather. I wouldn't have said that probably now anyway. It's also not something that's on the forefront of my mind just because how often do I taste leather. But the molasses is another one I probably wouldn't have said, but I can get it. I see what that's coming through. Short version, for me, huge roast approaching that coffee, hot coffee roast. Chocolate all over the place. Started where I was just dark, the cacao nib kind of a thing. As I kept drinking it, introduced some more of the milk chocolate, but while retaining that dark chocolate for sure. A dark fruit, but more cherry things. So I definitely agree with them on that. The bourbon throughout interwoven so beautifully. Drinks bigger than it is for sure, which I'm sure I'll be thankful for tomorrow. But yeah, this is a fantastic beer, and I'm thinking it's the one. Maybe they did another one. It was definitely a night shift beer that we had that was like really good for the lower ABV. But yeah, I'll have to text them when I get off. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Check out Nerdsense. Watch them. Watch them. Watch them. Check them out. Go subscribe to them. Get them to 500 subscribers. Come on, legion of no hype people who probably already watch their stuff anyway. But if you have not subscribed, subscribe to them. I think I spent enough time saying that. So thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate that. Check me out on Instagram on Tap. It's No Hype Beer Reviews at both those places. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.